I'm so grateful to be here, and I'm especially grateful to Seung-Hye for the invitation, because I'm inspired by her vision for a human-centered AI. And what my talk is going to be about is really how at MIT we are trying to carry out that vision. So it goes without saying that AI creates real concerns. Although I think the things that worry me most are not always the ones that get the most attention, certainly the most attention of the media. So I myself, I'm not worried that AI is going to take over the world. And an example that I like is, think of a calculator. So calculators have not replaced humans. Well, I suppose they replaced humans whose job was calculator. But by and large, what calculators do is they enhance humans. A human with a calculator is more powerful than a human without a calculator. And I think that that is the model for AI. Humans with AI are more powerful than humans without AI, and we need to strive to create a version of AI that realizes that dream, rather than a future in which humans are replaced. Now, that said, there are, I think, real reasons to worry. And I've listed a bunch there. Just to emphasize a couple, let me tell you about something that really worries me. So current large language models are incredibly expensive to train, with the result that the very best models are in the hands of very few private individuals. And in addition, their workings are incredibly opaque. So we have a situation in which there are very few people controlling a very powerful tool with very little understanding about how that tool works. This is a situation in which you can expect inequality, and in which you can expect that because these individuals do not necessarily have the broader interests of society in mind, there can be consequences that benefit only a few. So, I think that is a real worry. These are things that we really do need to be concerned about. Now, the thing that's important to keep in mind when we worry about these things is that AI's impact on society is up to us. And that is the first point I want you all to stay with after my talk. It really is up to us. I mean, at least to some extent. There's some things we can't control. But to a large extent, the impact of AI truly is up to us. So, there are various things we can do. Seung-Hye mentioned, she had the bowling ball slide, which mentioned a few. Let me just give you one example, which is, what about job loss? So one of the real perils of AI is that some people are going to lose their jobs. But here's one example of why we are not powerless, why what happens depends on us, and therefore why we shouldn't be passive. Right now, if a company hires a human to do a job, they get taxed for hiring a human. But if they hire a computer to do that job, they don't get taxed. So right now, our tax incentives are such that they encourage companies and the developers of the computing resources that those companies use to replace humans, rather than to have versions of AI that enhance humans. And tax structures are under our control. So this is an example in which a collaboration between experts in AI and industry and government can yield incentive structures that can really help. And I believe that higher education has a key role to play in the future of AI, because that is one of the key places in which we will be able to shape what the social consequences of AI are like. And I think that especially technical universities like KAIST and MIT have a role to play. This is why you and I need to talk. So let me say a little bit about MIT in particular and where I see our main weakness, where I see the main place in which we need to change the way we operate. So, the mission, what MIT is about, is to use science and technology to make the world a better place. That is what we want to do. But the reality is that you can't make the world a better place unless you understand how the world works. And that means understanding its economic, social, political, ethical, human dimensions. So, because we want to make the world a better place, we need to educate broad-minded students. Students who have technical expertise without understanding the broader picture are not going to have the kind of impact that we need if we truly are to make a difference. But, and this is a key thing, and this is something that's special about universities like KAIST and MIT, is that I do not think the model should be to educate broad-minded students by becoming more like Yale or Princeton. And let me tell you why. I have a chart that I hope will help make that point. So what this chart does is it tells you about the median student. So this axis is family income for the median student, and that axis is how much money the median student makes, say 12 years out, 12 years after graduation. And the main upshot of this chart, each dot is a US university, is that everything's on the diagonal. In other words, if you want to predict how much the median student is going to make after university, don't ask what university she picked. Just ask how much money her family had. Think about that. Think about that. Higher education in the United States, if you want to know how much someone is going to make after they graduate, the most powerful indicator is how much money their family had. But an exception is MIT. So the golden dots are the Ivy Plus schools. So the Ivies plus Stanford and MIT and Chicago. And you can see how the median MIT student is from a poorer family than the median student from the other Ivy pluses, except for Chicago. That's Chicago, so it's similar. But the median MIT student makes much more money than indeed the median student of any other Ivy Plus school. In order to make such a differential, you need to go to schools like these, which are maritime universities and pharmacy schools. So that is the kind of impact that MIT makes. So unlike our peers, MIT plays a special place in American society as an engine for social mobility. And that is something I don't want to lose. And there's no mystery as to why that happens. It happens because we admit students from poor backgrounds and give them an excellent engineering education. So we somehow need to adapt. We need to produce students with broad minds without abandoning that mission. So in other words, the mission remains the same, educate top engineers, but by acknowledging the following, and this is a second point that I want to leave you with, that today, part of what it is to be a top engineer is to understand the human implications of your work. And I'm very pleased to see that the president of KAIST agrees with me. It was already worth the trip. So this is the model. The model is to reimagine what it means to be a top engineer, what it means to be a top science and engineering leader. So what does it take? What does it take to educate this kind of leader? Well, I'm going to tell you how I see the situation at MIT. So step one is you need first-rate faculty. And the reason for that is that, if we're, for example, going to understand what kinds of regulations or what kinds of tax structures are going to direct AI in the right kind of way, then you can't have amateurs doing the job. You need the very best economists and political scientists and ethicists on the job. So you need top faculty. And I immodestly report to you that at MIT, we are going in the right direction. So our economics department won 3 Nobel Prizes in the past 5 years and has won 10 Nobel Prizes in total. So we have top faculty. You also need students to take Haas classes, so classes in humanities, arts, and social sciences. And at MIT, we do pretty well. So those are our General Institute requirements. So those are the classes that you have to take to graduate from MIT. Almost half of them, in red, are classes in humanities, arts, and social sciences. But we don't do well when it comes to integration. So more often than not, students, undergraduates, see their Haas classes as totally independent of their STEM classes. Often the classes they choose because they fit their schedule or because they think they're going to be fun, but not because they think they're going to be important to their work. And that's what we need to change. So I'm going to tell you about 2 big initiatives that are leading the charge to address this problem. And these are a big deal. So, change happens very slowly at MIT. These are some big changes that are happening today. So the first is the Schwarzman College of Computing. It was founded in 2018. And it's this effort to acknowledge the fact that computing is now at the center of everything. So we might as well be explicit about that in the way MIT works. So it has 3 main pillars, which you can see on your slide. And one of those pillars is the social and ethical responsibilities of computing. So that is one of the 3 main missions of the biggest restructuring of MIT in at least a generation. So what does this initiative do? The first thing it does is hire new faculty. So at MIT, we've been stuck with 1,000 faculty members for decades. I have no memory of a time in which MIT had more than 1,000 faculty. But with the college, we grew the size of the faculty by 5%. So we hired 50 new people, a number of which straddle 2 fields. And that includes people in the humanities, arts, and social sciences. So we recently hired a philosopher, so someone who does ethics of AI. It was not easy to do because we didn't just want it to be someone with that expertise. We wanted someone with that expertise of MIT quality. We wanted MIT standards. So what that meant is that we ran a search, and the search failed because we couldn't find anyone of the right caliber. So we searched again, and again the search failed. And then we searched again, and again it failed. And now finally, on the 4th try, we found the right person. So we're taking this extraordinarily seriously. We've now hired someone in political science who does computing and democracy. We've hired someone in media studies who thinks about the societal implications of computer imaging. We've hired someone in music who does generative AI for music, and we will soon launch a search for an economist who, again, straddles economics and computing. We have seat grant awards that give faculty all the money they need to pursue projects on the societal consequences of AI. We're introducing a new suite of classes relevant to these topics. We have experiential ethics. We have a new ethics of AI class that's part of our computer science major, but is co-taught by a philosopher and a computer scientist, launching in the fall. And we're developing a bunch of new classes. We have developed a bunch of modular materials so that we can have embedded ethics, including a number of case studies commissioned by experts. We have all these initiatives to engage broadly, both on campus but outside of campus. And we're doing something that I think is really, really important, which is building a pipeline. So we were talking about this in the green room a moment ago. So this is all very new. So there hasn't been enough time for the very best minds to specialize in these topics. So that's why it was so hard to find someone who does ethics of AI, because it takes several, it takes a generation. It takes time for teachers to offer classes on these topics, and it takes time for the very best students to decide to take these classes, and it takes time for the first cohort of students to deliver some real insights and gems, and for the next generation to pick up these insights. So we are doing everything we can to accelerate the pipeline. And what that means is partly bringing in people from MIT in other fields to focus on these things. So that's our CERC Scholars Program, but also bringing in new people to specialize on these issues. And that's our NC Ethics of Technology Fellows, which is a postdoc program. So that's the College of Computing. And there's a second program, which is brand new. In fact, it hasn't been announced yet. It's going to be announced in the fall. So think of this as the pre-announcement. And that is the MIT Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences collectives. What's the vision of the collectives? Well, it's what I shared with you today. It's to change the culture at MIT, something that's very difficult to do, by integrating STEM and Haas research and education, and thereby, and this is the most important part, thereby reconceiving what it means to be a top engineer. We need to rethink what it means to be a top engineer. This program has now been made an institute priority alongside things like climate. And crucially, this is not an initiative from my school, because of course you would expect the Dean of Humanities and Social Sciences to say all the things that I've been saying to you. But this is not me. This is a collaboration between my school and Anantha Chandrakasan, who is not just our Dean of Engineering, but MIT's Chief Innovation and Strategy Officer. So this is MIT. This is enthusiasm coming not just from the Haas side, but truly from the STEM side. And part of this, what this is going to mean is bringing in infrastructure, but it's also going to mean bringing in resources so that whenever a humanist or a social scientist or an artist finds someone in STEM to collaborate with, there's money to do it. There's money to do it for research. There's money to do it for education. Okay, closing thoughts. So 3 things I'm hoping you will remember. So thing 1 is that AI's impact on society depends on us. So we cannot be passive. We need to shape the future of AI. Thing 2 is higher education has an especially important role to play. And point 3 is just to report what we're doing at MIT. So at MIT, we truly are embracing the challenge of making sure that the next generation of MIT alums have a broad understanding of the human implications of their work. Thank you so much.